Hey, the better rifle. Drop the gun! Oh, shit! I'm hit. I'm okay. But I'm not gonna die.
Welcome to Badges, Bullets, and Blunders, the show that tells funny cop stories from real people who live them. I'm your host, Travis Harless. Today's guest is my friend Eric. Eric is a sergeant with a police department in California. Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What did you do before you became a police officer? How long you've been an officer, and what are some of the assignments you've worked?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on.
course.
First of all, big fan. Watched all the previous episodes so far. Um, Born and raised here, where we police. Graduated from high school, went to college at a nearby university while I was working for Bank of America
Okay.
as a teller, cashing checks and getting those Merrill Lynch referrals for our bankers and investment guys.
Snapping necks and cashing checks.
Exactly. They once I was working there when I was going to college, and then once I graduated, the economy took a dump.
Mhm.
So I couldn't really get a finance job anymore. Oil wasn't doing good. Finance wasn't doing good. So
2008
ish.
ish,
No, it was like 2012.
2012.
It was 2012.
Yeah.
We hit hard in 08, but then it came up and dropped back down again. Never wanted to be in law enforcement. My dad was actually in law enforcement, and kind of seeing the way he was with us, super strict and that kind of stuff, kind of pushed me away from wanting to do it. But come to find out, BPD was hiring, and 11 years later,
Nice.
here I am. So started the academy in July of 13, graduated December of 13. Pushed the black and white on patrol for a couple years. Then the city decided to give me a dog.
Mhm.
I rode around with the dog as a canine handler for 4 years before I became a detective. There I was in general for about 6 months. Went to SVU, did all that investigated all that really bad stuff for about 2 years.
Yeah.
I was mediocre enough in there to be asked to go to Homicide for about a year and a half to 2 years,
Okay.
where I attempted to become a sergeant one time. We'll
Mhm.
talk about that later.
Yeah.
And then eventually became a sergeant coming out of there. And I did a year on patrol as a sergeant, which is like a frontline supervisor for us. And then now I'm currently the public information officer and oversee our community engagement division.
Nice. All right. Well, talk to us. Tell us some of your experiences. You got a story regarding a poop faucet. What's that all about?
Yeah, so on FTO, so this is going to be early 2014. I was riding around with a guy who's now retired, Darren. He was my second phase FTO. We're on shift 2, so banker's hours. We're working Monday through Friday, daytime, and we were the Beat 5 car. So like one of the nicer parts of town.
Mhm.
And I felt like the Grim Reaper because every day we were constantly going to 901Hs. Like for us, that's a dead body call.
Yeah.
Nothing nefarious, just a lot of natural deaths, people not waking up, people passing away in their sleep.
Mhm.
So I'm still wet behind the ears, and we get dispatched, and it comes out as a deceased grandpa or something like
Yeah.
that. And we respond, show up, and I'm interviewing the family. Obviously, they're broken up about
Yeah.
what's going on. They
Loved
lost.
one just passed away.
Yeah. So nothing suspicious about it. So we call the supervisor, run it down to him. Said, okay, call the coroner's office. Nothing suspicious. The coroner's not coming out, but they're going to send their body snatchers, what we affectionately call them as body snatchers. And
Those are
any
just the contractors that like pick up the body and transport them to the coroner's office.
exactly, and anybody who gets into that profession
Mhm.
has to be kind of an oddball.
Yeah, because they don't really make very much money, and they do like some pretty dirty work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you pick up like someone who just passed away in their sleep and they've been dead for like 2 or 3 hours. Like,
Yeah. Not
but
that big of a deal.
but there's some scenes that they go to that, yeah,
Yeah. And when they roll up, it's obvious they're a little different.
yeah, some strange rangers work
There's
for
some
that.
strange rangers, the perfect way to put it. And they show up wearing like their gray pants, and they have like these faded blue button-up shirts. That's their uniform.
Yeah.
They always have like messed up hair, messed up greasy hair.
Mhm.
And I'm standing in there, and there's 2 of them. And at this time I wasn't familiar with them. I didn't know them. Because over time you get to know them kind of. And there was one that was noticeably younger than the other. And they come in, and the positioning of this guy that had passed away, he was on his bed with his legs kind of hanging over the edge, almost like he was sitting on the edge of the bed and had laid backwards.
Yeah.
And as a rule is like we're not allowed to touch the body. It belongs to the coroner. So I haven't manipulated the body at all. Well, the older dude is instructing the young guy, hey, shimmy him off the bed. Once he gets to the edge, I'll grab his shoulders and we'll load him up on this thing. And I'm standing near the door, just peering in, and Darren's looking over my shoulder, my FTO. And I see this kid. He's obviously nervous, doesn't really know how to do it because the more experienced guys, they don't mess around. They move the body.
Yeah.
So this guy's kind of shimmying him, and he's kind of messing around to the point where like the old cat is like, "Get out of the way,
Yeah.
Junior." So he moves out of the way, and he grabs this dude that's passed away and like starts pulling him off the bed. And this dude that's passed away is just wearing like a tank top, what most people call a wife beater,
Yeah.
and then boxer shorts, not briefs, like loose fitting boxer shorts.
Okay.
And I kid you not, as soon as that dude's butt cleared the bed, I mean, obviously he's dead, so he has no control over his bodily functions. His
Yeah.
butthole turned into a poop. That's
You
it.
just opened it up.
And it felt like minutes,
Holy shit.
just dumping
Just
all over the floor.
pour out.
And like the new guy, the younger guy, tries to run out of the bedroom, like trying to escape the
Mhm.
faucet.
Yeah.
But like we're there and we're like, no, dude, this is your job,
Yeah,
and kind
yeah.
of pushing him back. And like the same dude,
You're like, "It's time to earn
the
that
senior guy
paycheck."
didn't know what to do because he's like frozen trying to hold the dude so he doesn't fall, but now his shoes are getting covered
Oh yeah.
in this shit.
Yeah.
That dude, the young cat, quit on the spot.
I mean, that's.
Quit on the spot.
Yeah.
Walked out. He said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I am out.
That's actually the normal response.
Yeah.
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 Well, and me,
Yeah.
like the new guy, I'm like trying not to be freaked out and trying to act like I'm tough, even though I'm grossed out as
Yeah.
well. But this dude walked out, called somebody to
Yeah.
come pick him up, said, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm fine. $12 an hour to get dead people shit all over me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. So anybody who's
Who does that?
and like, and I don't know what goes on inside the body after you die and all
Yeah.
that good stuff, but like it's not normal poop.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah.
90 years of this guy's life was being released, and it was all released all over the carpet. And like
Yeah.
that's something you don't even think about afterwards. Is like now the family has to clean this mess up
Yeah. It's been marinating
after-
in there for a while, and
after we leave. That was one of my welcome to the PD experiences.
Yeah.
That was not.
yeah, I definitely would be quitting, but before that, disgusting.
We had to wait even longer because they had to call another body snatcher
Yeah.
to come help them load up and clean up the mess. But I don't even know what the family ended up doing with the gallons of poop on the floor. I don't know. I thought of Ryan actually, because Ryan, who's been on the show, was my first phase FTO,
Okay.
and I had a couple other 901Hs with him.
He doesn't do the smells.
Doesn't do the smells. So we had a couple with him
Yeah.
on when we were working nights, and I was thinking about him. I was like, oh no, he would have quit too.
He would have quit too. Yeah. He would have been out.
Yeah.
He'd have quit
We're
too.
gonna have to handle this one telephonically.
Yeah. No, that one. To this day, I don't
On
think I've had
Zoom?
I haven't had one like that.
Nice. All right. Talk to us about cucumber dildo salad.
So this is like maybe like a year later after that first story.
Yeah.
I'm back on nights. I pass FTO. And I get partnered up with a good friend of mine, Tim. He's since moved to Texas, and he's doing great. But it was cold. It was wintertime. I remember that. And we see this dude riding a bicycle with a backpack, and we're trying to be proactive and jam people up.
Yeah. That's an indicator.
Yeah, right. So I'm in the passenger. So
I wonder what's in the backpack.
well, maybe you'll find out. Yeah, maybe you'll find out.
I have a guess.
So Tim flips the car around, and we're catching up to this dude. And as the passenger, I'm gonna jump out and I'm gonna try to snatch this dude up. And this dude's kind of trying to okey doke us in the parking lot.
Mhm.
Finally, we catch him, and I jump out, I grab him, I pull him off the bike, and Tim hops out. Dude's got a backpack on. I give it to Tim. I get this guy in a standing modified, and I'm patting him down, and I'm young and eager, and I'm in the mix of things, so I don't have time to put gloves on, rubber gloves or anything.
Yeah. You're just raw dogging it.
Just raw dogging it, and I'm patting this dude down, and in his front pocket, like of his sweatshirt, I feel something that's like long and hard,
Yeah.
like running sideways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey brother, like what's in your front pocket there?
a
And I'm
flashlight.
asking the general question, hey, anything that's gonna poke me, stick me, prick me, any weapons? No sir, no sir, no sir.
Not the way you think.
Yeah. so he's like, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey dude, like what is this? He was like, oh, it's just a cucumber. I'm like, all right. So I reach in and I pull it out, and I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah,
Sure shit.
it's a cucumber. Like, and I throw it on the ground, and
Pinot.
I'm patting him down, and I'm like, hey, and I end up hooking him up and put him in handcuffs, and we're just standing there. I'm like, hey dude, like, where are you coming from? It's like, oh, I'm coming from my girlfriend's house. Okay. Doing that whole thing. And I'm like, if you don't mind me asking, what's the cucumber? What are you doing with the cucumber at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
out here? He's like, oh, sir, it's kind of embarrassing. I'd rather not say. And like, now I'm really interested. So I'm like, no, you're going to tell me. He's like, he obviously knew me because he's like, obviously, he tells me, he goes, sir, obviously you've never done meth. And I'm like, you're right. I've never done meth.
True.
And he goes, it makes you really horny. I'm like, okay, continue. He's like, but sometimes like my girlfriend, like she wants more than I can give her. He was like, and like, I'm trying to like,
Damn.
be better. I'm not trying to steal. And like,
Mm-hmm.
dildos are expensive. He's like,
Yeah.
so instead I get cucumbers.
It's organic.
Yeah. So I'm like, wait.
Then you have a snack for later.
I'm like, you're leaving. Did you do that one? He goes, yeah, I'm sorry, sir. Like the one I was just holding in my hand.
Oh shit.
and as I'm having this conversation, I look over at Tim, who has the backpack on the hood of the car, and I look at him, and he's just pulling out like dropping like broken cucumbers on the ground.
Oh
And Tim looks, he's not really privy to our conversation. And like Tim looks, and he's like, dude, why does he have so many cucumbers? Like he's holding them in our hand.
just raw hand,
Just
raw dog.
raw dogging it, yeah. And like we like lock eyes as I like have this one on the ground, and like this
No.
dude, and like you have a good partner, like you just have those conversations just by looking at each other, and like he's just like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, bro. So now I'm like even more interested. I'm like, hey, dude, like why are those broken? He's like, yeah, dude, my girlfriend's crazy, man. Sometimes she breaks them off. I'm like, okay,
Jesus.
fair enough. But I'm like, but why?
Keep them.
Why do you still have them?
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, they're still good cucumbers. Like you can still eat them. I'm like,
Damn.
get out of here. Like
Yeah,
take your
yeah.
cucumbers and get out of here. I got to go wash
Yeah.
my hands now. But that was, but I give the guy credit for not wanting to thieve.
Yeah.
And-
his logic's not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cucumbers are phenomenal.
Good on him.
But yeah, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, how hard is this lady going to break cucumbers off while she's going at it?
Nice. Yeah, there's always and we talked about that before. Usually there's a print porn magazine in the backpack. Not so much anymore because of technology, but at least 2 or 3 dildos. In this case, cucumbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always wondered like why do you need to have that many?
I don't know. Yeah, that's like the tweaker starter pack. You have that, a couple LED flashlights.
There you go.
You have a bicycle that's like been put together from 5 different bicycles.
Yeah. Was it dark soda?
Dark soda.
A fountain drink.
Fountain drink.
Dark soda. Yeah.
For sure. You could give them a brand new bike and they'll take it apart
Yeah.
immediately.
They have 4 phone chargers and a toothbrush that never gets used.
Yeah. No.
Tweaker starter pack. Yeah.
Some stereotypes hold true.
Yeah. Oh, what was it? And then his parents never took him to Disneyland.
Was it you who's like, wait, I've never been to Disneyland?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sorry,
bro.
bro.
I went there fucking for grad night in high school. That's it. I was more like
that doesn't count.
a water park up in Clovis kind of kid, you know?
Fair enough. Oh, I got another one. Speaking of me and Tim, that I forgot, but
Yeah.
we were partners again, and we get dispatched to an ambulance request for a guy downtown at a flower shop there, and we roll up and we're kind of talking to this guy. Like he doesn't really because one way to solve that problem, if the cops don't want to do it, we'll just send him with an ambulance and we'll be done with it for the night. That's one way, but
If he's transported to the hospital then.
yeah, it's their problem.
Yeah.
And then we can call out there later. But I was like, no, we're not going to do that to them. So me and Tim were like, yeah, we'll just take him to jail for 647F, public intoxication.
Yeah.
And he wasn't being a jerk or anything, but he was just too drunk to be out there. So Tim's driving, and we're driving to the jail, and I'm writing the FAD because this is when we were writing
Way back in
the data arrest or whatever they're
on
called.
the triplicate form.
Yeah, and when we were on the scene, he was talking to us, and then while we were driving over there, we'd ask him questions, and he started being a smartass. So I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's your name?" He'd be like, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, "Okay, what's your birthday, dude?" Mm-hmm. Being a smartass. So we get to the jail, and we're gonna blue check him, and we'll just do it that way. We'll fingerprint him, and we'll identify him that way. But I get out of the car, and I walk around to let him out, and I notice he's sitting there looking like a chipmunk, like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, dude, get out of the car, whatever. And as soon as I get him out of the car, he's being gracious. He spits out a mouthful of vomit.
Oh,
So he wasn't being a smartass. He was like, he was
Oh.
being courteous and not throwing up in our car.
Just holding on to it.
Yeah. So
Mm.
thankful, nice, whatever. We take him into the jail. But now I got throw up all over our car, and they didn't have one of the inmates available to come help us clean it.
ILs.
And the nurses were super cool back then. They're like, no, you can leave him here. I'm like, okay, cool. We're out there, we're cleaning up, and deputies come out, and they're like, dude, we just had to 148 with this guy. He was doing whatever. I'm like, what is going on? They're like, yeah, dude, we were trying to work on him, but he refused to answer our questions. And I'm like, did he look like a chipmunk when he was doing it? Was he like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, nah, dude, he probably had throw up in his mouth. And I go look at him, and sure as shit, dude is covered in throw up.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, he wasn't being an asshole. He was just trying to be a courteous drunk guy and not throw up all over everybody.
Ooh, you gotta chew it back, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I'm just puking on everyone's shoes.
Yeah. You gotta give him the little cup like in Wayne's World.
Oh,
You're gonna
yeah.
spew into this.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, but I could appreciate that he didn't want to throw up in our car.
Well, that's nice
Yeah.
of him. What was I gonna say?
Vomit related.
Some vomit related, yeah. Losing my memory in my old age. All right, you had a funny story about a catheter. This sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, so those of us, I mean, not just midnight guys, but you come to spend a lot of time at the local hospital before you take somebody to jail. And I don't know what this guy was there for, but the county had brought this guy in, and the vibe I got was that he was under the influence of something, and he was spun up pretty good. And they had him on a bed, on a gurney in one of the ER bays there. And we're sitting there with our guy trying to get him medically cleared. And out of nowhere, we hear like things getting slammed around. And
Yeah.
at that point, like my priority is making sure my guy's not involved. And I see deputies running and they're doing the whole thing. And I see this guy come like out of the ER room, kind of to where the counter is, where everybody's waiting and where the intake nurses are. And he's dragging like security and deputy with like a gurney on or a gown on, sorry. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like Hercules, like dragging these dudes out there. And I didn't know anything about catheters until after this incident. I guess when they put a catheter in, guy or girl, they put it in and they shoot some air in it, and
Inflates.
Ooh,
it inflates a bubble so it won't come out.
to keep it in
keep it
place.
locked in.
And then they probably deflate it before it comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sure there's a certain amount of air they're supposed to put in, and I don't know what the case was in this one, but he drags these dudes out like he must have been like 550B or something.
Yeah. So PCP.
And yeah, high on PCP, and he comes out, and we're like, oh my God! And out of nowhere, dude, I see him reach under his gurney, and
Gown.
gown, and pull out the rubber tube, the catheter, and like we can't see underneath the gown, but you could see just like the puddle of blood, just like building on that, and then the blood
Jeez.
just dripping onto the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I was like. It worked out for me though, because they just signed our approval forms and got us the heck out of there.
Yeah.
But I was like following up with them later. I'm like, how does that happen? They're like, he's like, that doesn't happen. We've never seen that happen ever. So they think that in order for that to happen, that may not have been inflated all the way, but nonetheless, it was traumatic for the dude's member.
Yeah, I just imagine it being like blown up to like the size of like a gumball.
Yeah.
And then just
Yeah,
pulling
yeah,
out all
yeah.
the way out.
Well, have you ever seen those videos where they throw a chain through like one of those driveway like sewer things, and then they pull
Oh,
a tire
through?
Yeah. Something like that happened probably.
Yeah, just punching the bore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just hard though.
But yeah, once I found out like how the catheter worked and how that had to have happened. No.
Just cleaned all the rifling right out of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just smooth bore.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
no, that one was rough to watch.
When you were a canine handler, there was a big crash that occurred. The big pileup.
There was. This was years ago, and we still haven't lived this one down. It's something that people still talk about quite a bit today. We
And well, that's a big deal because the canine cars are custom fitted.
yeah, so they have like kennels, air conditioning units, like the whole thing. And in my car position, I didn't realize it. Like getting a new car for like the police department or for an assignment pretty much takes an act of Congress.
Yeah.
Like it is like the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah. So if you stack up a regular patrol car, like
Yeah.
there's a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Fleet of them. So
Yeah.
it's not as difficult to like borrow someone else's, but if it's a canine car, you can't just take someone else's random car.
Exactly. So we were headed to I was actually just finishing canine school, and with another good friend of ours, John. We were just finishing canine school, and we're headed to the coast to get a certain type of certification. CNCA, it's not a thing anymore, but we're gonna go down there, do some detection stuff, some drug and some
Drug
bomb
detection.
stuff.
It's not a
And
thing anymore because in California, drugs are not.
boom,
Drugs are legal, so
yeah. So
it doesn't matter if the
Decriminalized.
dog can smell the drugs. We're like, yep,
yep,
there's
they're
some
there.
drugs.
Leave them
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, neat.
Like, cool.
So we're headed.
Might as well get it like gumdrop certified.
Exactly. So at this point in law enforcement, we were driving out to get this certification because we could do stuff like that, and it was going to be a fun training day. We're going to go to the coast, enjoy some good weather,
Mhm.
and as we're going there, we decided to caravan. Hey, everybody, we'll leave together, caravan, do the whole thing, and we leave in the morning, and we're headed out, and we're headed on the freeway, and we got to hit just one other freeway, one changeover, and it'll drive us straight there. Well, this overpass that we get onto, it's single lane in each direction.
Mhm.
And there's probably 9 or 10 of us, including our supervisors in different cars. And we probably have 8 dogs that we're taking over there. And I'm the last one in the train of cars. And as we're going over there, I just see the brake lights ahead of me just lock up. Full accident avoidance, evoc, yank. Luckily, there was no cars coming in the oncoming lane. And me and my car survive.
Mm.
But we end up, out of those cars, we end up totaling like 4 or 5 of them.
Jeez.
Like nice cars. Like some of them are new Explorers and whatever.
Yeah.
So here we are, like on this single lane freeway either way. Now we have not only that, we have like dogs in these cars, and like none of the things are working, and the dogs are traumatized and not having a good time. So they tell me like, "Hey, you're okay. You jump in the car with this guy. Take your cars back and come back, and we'll do the whole thing." But to this day, that car crash, because at the time also there was, true or not, a lore for the canine team and how they were perceived in the department.
Yeah.
So we took a few steps back in
Yeah.
that car accident.
Yeah. So how did it happen?
So allegedly,
I don't know.
Should we talk about this?
al- at the end of the day, one cop rear-ended another, and it rear-ended another and another.
Chain reaction of
and then
events.
Chain reaction.
Chain reactional thing. And
Series of unfortunate events.
yeah, and then watching our buddy John taking his dog and loading it into the back of a sergeant's car with the look of defeat on his face. Just
Yeah.
having to sit in the back of a sergeant car holding your dog on your lap was pretty humbling. But
So did you guys get to go to the beach that day?
I did. I did. So we had to wait for 5 or 6 tow trucks to come and tow all these cars back, but a lot of us doubled up, and especially us new guys, we got to go and do our cert. So it worked out for me. Well, kinda. In the mix, when they said, "Hey, fly back home and get this other car," I flew back home
Mhm.
and got the car. Well, it's my fault for doing this, but they said, "Hey, log on, call CHP so they can come handle the incident, the car crash reports, and generate a case number for us on your computer so we can give it to CHP." Well, I left my computer on,
Mhm.
and I'm flying home because we have all these cars and cops and dogs stranded on the side of the freeway. And when I get to the coast, they're like, "Hey, the technology lieutenant wants to see your computer when you get back." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure, whatever." "Hey, dude, you were driving a little too hot
Yeah.
to save these dogs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's a little documented oral counseling." But the
Documented.
best part is that the senior handler that was riding with me had never gotten anything. I mean, it was a 3x5. It wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah.
Not a formal form of discipline, but just, "Hey, don't do that again." He had never had anything, and he had a couple years. It's John, Big John, and he was in my passenger seat, and he got one too for not telling me to slow down.
Yeah.
He was pretty fired up about that. He was like, "Dude, I've never had anything like this." I'm like, "You should have told me to slow down."
Poor guy.
You had to save those dogs though.
Dude, I'm like, we literally had these dogs stranded, and it was hot. Like something could happen to these dogs.
Legitimately, someone.
No, I'm being
Yeah.
dead serious. So I flew home, dropped my dog off, and got an extra car with John, and we came back and we were able to pick up a couple dogs. We kind of did that a couple times. But yeah, like, you were cooking a little too fast, brother. I was
Yeah.
like, fair enough. I'll take that one. I certified though. So
Certified. That's good. Yeah, you got to go to the coast still.
yeah.
So you got promoted before you got promoted, there was an event that occurred before you promoted to sergeant, which came to be known as the Stop the Steal of 2021.
Yeah, I haven't quite lived this one down either. So in 2021, I was in SVU at the time.
Which is the Special Victims Unit.
Yeah.
So, investigating sexual assaults, domestic violence,
crimes against children, all that good stuff. And I had just become eligible for sergeant, and I had no expectation of making the list. I was super young in I'd only been here like 8 years or something like that. So like for us, like most places, I would imagine very similar. There's a written portion, and then if you do well enough on the written portion, you go to an oral interview, and then there's a calculation between these two scores, and they make a list. For us, it's a list of 15. Well, that day, everyone knows when the list is going to come out, so everyone's on pins and needles checking their email. And I noticed, like, I didn't make it. Okay, but you still get your scores, and just the curious nature, like, I want to know how close I was.
Yeah.
So I get my score.
Number 16.
I was number 16. I really was. So I get my score, and a friend of ours, Chris, who was number 15, I'm like, hey, dude, like, what'd you get? I just want to know, what was your overall score? I just want to know how close I was. And he tells me his score. I'm like, dude, that's my score. Like, that I should be on the list, because, like, we can have more than 15 on a list if there's ties in there. So I'm like, so I call Balti, because he knows all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey, dude, this is kind of what's going on. Did the rules change? Am I missing something? He's like, no, man. Like, if that's the case, you should be on there. Call him back, because sometimes maybe he doesn't read things right.
Yeah.
And make sure have him send you a screenshot. That way we know for sure, and we can find out for sure. So I call Chris, and he's like, nah, man, I want nothing to do with this. I don't want to mess up my chances, which I get. Yeah. So I call Balti back.
Like, I don't want that smoke.
Exactly. He's like, I finally made this list. I'm not ruining my chances. Don't bring me down with you. Yeah. So
bump me off.
Yeah. By this time, the flag's already been raised.
Yeah.
I get the call like, hey, dude, nothing intentional. It was an accident, but the scores were calculated incorrectly. This list that was just certified is void. So I'm like, oh man. So now, like, everybody who's on the list is like
pissed,
fired up. Yeah.
Especially if you're towards the bottom.
Especially if you're towards the bottom. Like,
if you're in the top 5, you're probably all right.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, like, I'm still a young guy here. I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm like, I still want to, like, if I don't make this, I still want to go to Homicide. I want to do all this other stuff. So I'm sweating bullets. Not that I don't feel bad, but Chris, I ended up bumping him up a space or two. So I helped him out.
Yeah.
Once they recalculated the scores appropriately, I wasn't on the list. But Pete was the one that got dinged the most. He dropped like 6 spots.
Oh,
on
shit.
the list. Yeah. He still made it, but I pushed him back a couple.
If I was him, I would have fought you.
Yeah, well, don't think I wasn't buying corners when I was walking through the hallways of an apartment.
Like, hey man, I need you to meet me in the mat room.
Yeah, don't think I wasn't worried about it. Who's this young kid thinking he can mess all this stuff up? But in SVU, and to this day, I still don't know who did this. Like, it is a major oversight if you leave your computer unlocked in the department. So
you can't do that.
Screensavers or emails, like, they're getting sent. Like, something has happened to your computer. Well, one day, and I don't even know what day it was, apparently I left my computer unlocked, and somebody changes my email signature.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was like Sergeant Wannabe or something like that. Like, I don't remember what it was. Blue Falcon, like, totally changes, like, my title from detective to whatever it was.
Yeah.
And this is like a couple months later. Like, a lieutenant pulls me in. He's like, hey, dude, what's up with your email signature? I'm like, what do you mean, sir? He's like, go look at your email signature. And I go back. And sure as shit, dude. So I start going back. I'm like, how long has this been on here?
How many dozens of emails have I sent?
Like, and I go back to I'm going back to like old sent emails from months ago. And sure enough, there it is.
Nice.
I'm like, oh my, until this day, nobody has told me who did
good.
it. I earned it. I deserved it. But yeah.
They got you.
They got me.
They got you.
Yeah, I should have stayed in my lane and waited my turn.
Yeah, you can't leave your computer unlocked.
Yeah,
We've talked about that, right?
Yeah.
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 No, there's
About
got to be
The
a certain
Justin
level of
Bieber.
accountability.
Justin
Like,
Bieber in the shower.
Yeah.
what's the if you get caught slipping, what's the time frame you got to leave the?
2 weeks.
It's supposed to be 1 week,
I
but
thought it was a week.
sometimes it lasts. You know, I've had it on there for like.
You said you had it on there for like over that. 'Cause
Oh,
you just
yeah,
forgot about it.
I just got used to it. I had Justin Bieber in the shower once.
Yeah. You're like, you started looking forward to it, is what it was.
I mean, maybe. And it was when I worked at the range. I'd left it and it got put on there, and I'd forgot. You know, a week turned into like a couple weeks, which turned into a couple months, which then just became a thing.
Yeah, you just leaned into it.
Yeah, and then we were changing we were having problems with our guns, so we brought the Glock rep out to come and to look at them, and I had taken a bunch of pictures of the guns and the malfunctions when they were happening, and I had saved on my computer. So it's like, hey, I have these pictures. So this guy I had never met before, who's a representative from Glock, comes over, and I sit down on my computer, and he stands behind me, and I tap the mouse to like activate to turn the screensaver off, and it pops up. My desktop is Justin Bieber in the shower. And so I thought, like, what do I tell this guy? Like,
No, you don't say
I'm
a
like,
word.
Nope, just
Yeah,
didn't say
this is
anything.
me. Yep.
Yeah, this is how I roll.
This is how I roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Ronnie talked about somebody changing his autocorrect to say penis.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
that?
I've seen that. Like every time you type the,
Yeah.
anytime you type the word the.
Yeah, when I was in the gang unit, they got a guy. He wrote his reports in Word, and they changed it to where every time he wrote the word "I," it would change to "gay," and every time he wrote the word "and," it would change it to "poop." And so he's like sitting there typing one day, a couple days later, and he's like getting all frustrated. He's like, "Why do I keep typing poop?" Like,
I've seen a couple guys that would hide because, like, especially in investigations, like we share all of our warrants,
yeah,
like templates and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like not even like in the body of like the boilerplate stuff, people would hide stuff in there.
yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, dang.
you guys are children.
You gotta be careful.
You gotta
You gotta read it.
everything.
Yeah, fine tooth comb. You don't want to send that to a judge.
Yeah. This legal jargon. I don't need to mess with this. Like, no, you should read that
Yeah,
too.
you should read the fine print on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it all.
Hmm.
It's funny.
So, talk to us about this is an SVU case, a tampon bag.
But yeah. So, um, once a week, one of us detectives would be tasked with going down to what we call the SART center. So,
Mhm.
like, if there's most people call them rape kits.
Yeah.
Once a week for all the different examinations that were done that week, one detective would go down there. So it's a chain of custody thing. We'd sign a log, check them all out, and transport them to the department.
Mhm.
And then we'd kind of assign them to detectives and to share the load of stuff that needs to be booked. And on this day, there was one guy, the oldest guy in the unit.
Yeah.
I think he went to the academy when he was like 40, something like
Yeah, I
that.
think he was 39 when he started.
Yeah. So he loved going and picking the stuff up from the ladies. I'm like, okay, cool. So he comes in and he, as normal, has a giant box full of the different kits, and he's setting them on his desk and kind of separating them. And we're all taking our share. And I grab this paper bag off his desk. And I'm like, oh, it's part of this case. I'll go book it. But when I pick it up, before I even see anything, I feel
The weight.
A little bit of
it like stick.
yeah,
Like,
a little adhesive.
yeah.
Well,
I'm like, oh. And I'm like, oh, dude, did you have something on your desk or
Yeah.
like
Did
looking
you,
at
did
it?
you leave a cold beverage on the
Yeah,
desk
is this
here?
like, what is this? And I'm like, and he's like, oh, no, I have no idea. So I'd look at like the label because it has labels, and I'm like, can't be. And then I open the bag and I look at it, and sure enough, it's a victim's bloody tampon
Mhm.
that had just been stuck in a paper bag, and it had like leaked through
Yeah.
on this thing. And Grandpa accidentally set it on his desk there.
And it's just been marinating for
And
like a
it's-
week
Yeah, like
in the bag.
for a while. Yeah, like over the weekend, like it could have been like at least a week. So sit on his desk, and the crazy part, like it didn't even really phase him.
yeah.
And the rest of us are like losing our
deep.
mind. Like we need a full decon. We need everything. He's like, oh, okay, and like continues like business as usual. Goes and gets like some paper towels and like
Yeah.
wipes it up. I'm like, dude,
No.
what are you doing? And I'm like, you don't know who this person is. It could be like, not that even if it's the cleanest person, it's an ideal scenario, but like this could be the raunchiest thing
You
that has
don't
ever
know.
touched your desk. And you're going on like, and that dude had that desk for a couple more years after that. I never saw anybody take more than A wipey.
Just wipe, just
Yeah.
smearing across with a paper
Yeah.
towel. Yeah. Nice.
No, Brody.
Brody.
Brody. He still gets that story to this day.
Good old. All right, let's pause real quick. Cool, man. Well, thank you, Eric, for coming on and talking to us. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and stay frosty.
Stay frosty.